Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. We're heading to Sweet 16 action. We've got number 8 seed Wisconsin playing number 4 seed Florida. A lot of people didn't see this matchup coming with these two teams here in the Sweet 16 as Wisconsin stunned Villanova. I'll start with you, Preston, and I know that you've actually got your best bet, which will be in the next video, is on this game, but give us just a general overview on this one, and then we'll have more detail from you in the next one.
Yeah, I think it's a really intriguing matchup just from a gambler's point of view or sports betting point of view. Or just any handicapper, really. You look at, I guess, what happened. Obviously, they upset Villanova. Wisconsin did, the number 1 seed in the entire tournament. On the flip side, you have the perception of a team, Florida, who just beat what I think most people think was a really good top 20, 25 team called Virginia. And so to win that game, I think they were even up 36-38 at one point, and Virginia brought it back down to about 30. So both of these teams, typically is 2 spots I'd fade, right? And in this case, they're playing each other. So for me, I'm very intrigued to see where the market goes. I mean, kind of as a spoiler going into this next video, I'm shocked that Florida's laying 2. I thought it would be more like pick. And I think it was 1.5, and now it's actually come up to 2. And so we bought on some Wisconsin. I'll give you more details about the matchup and the specifics. But I'm really intrigued just by this matchup because I think, you know, the old school classic immediate perception handicapping stuff, typically this is a spot you'd bet against both of them. So I think it'll be fun to see where it goes.
Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely. Anytime you have a team that wins as easy as Florida did, I like to look to go against them because we always have the adage, no team's ever as good as their best game, nor are they as good as their worst game. And we saw the best out of both of these teams. I mean, Florida just absolutely ran Virginia out of the building. Virginia had 17 points, I think, at halftime. And Wisconsin played as perfect of a game as you could play against Villanova. They shot 53% from the field. Okay, 53% doesn't, we see teams have good shooting nights all the time. That is the first time they shot over 47% since late January, Wisconsin. So not only did they have their best game, but they had it against what a lot of people thought were one of the best teams in, the big dance, Villanova, the defending national champ. I know you're sitting here with big futures tickets on both sides, so you're going to be probably sitting back just enjoying whatever happens in this one, but how do you see it?
Yeah, it's interesting how coming into the tournament, some sports books made odds on what conference would end up having the national champion. And everybody was talking about the Big East, the ACC, and the Big 12. Now we're looking at the Big 10. We're looking at the SEC. And, we're sitting there looking at
Pac-12.
Pac-12. And they're dominating the tournament so far. So you never really know. It's interesting because these teams don't play anybody outside the conference going back all the way back to January, December and January. And now, so you take a look at the season, people keep knocking each other off in the Big Ten. Everybody thought the Big Ten was down this year. And now we've got 3 teams sitting right here in the Sweet 16. As you mentioned, I do have futures on both these teams, so it doesn't really matter to me who wins as long as they get to that, the final 8 there, and that gives me a shot. But you take a look at the Florida team, and other than Vanderbilt, who they just didn't match up with, they lost all 3 times to Vanderbilt. You look at the teams they've lost to: Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida State, Duke, and Gonzaga. 3 of those teams are in the Sweet 16, and the other 2 were top 3 rankings in this tournament, top 3 spots. So they've played some very good teams, and a lot of people gave up on them halfway through the season because Florida lost a few games in a row. And this Wisconsin team's a very good team, and they play similar to me. It's a pretty similar matchup. Florida, I have concerns about Florida. They only average about 12.1 assists a game. I don't like to play a lot of teams that don't have the ability to create their own shots like that. And Wisconsin's a team that does very good on the offensive boards, 4.1% more offensive boards per game than Florida does. So it's a pretty tight matchup. I actually did make it 2 for Florida, so I'm going to be sitting on the bench in this one, but I'm happy whichever way it ends.
Yeah, I'll point out, and I agree with you, I think Florida did fly under the radar because, it's a team that they were 19-5 down the stretch. The 5 losses: South Carolina, Kentucky, and then Vanderbilt 3 times. And again, Vanderbilt, why they just didn't match up with them, I don't know, but they had their problems with them. What I do like about Florida, though, is they play great defense. And this is something that I don't think people really give them enough credit for. They've held 9 of their last 14 opponents to 39% or less from the field. Now, Wisconsin, we talked, they had their best game last time out. How do they react off of that win, and do they go back to where they've been before? With a big futures ticket, sitting at, Wisconsin at a nice price, I'm going to be happy whatever happens here because I'm going to have a hedge on Florida in this game. But I think that Florida actually does get this game. I lean to Florida in this one. I think the defense gets the job done, and as Preston said so many times, normally I would be betting against both of them, but I like the Florida defense here is the difference.
Regardless of what happens, Florida's gone on and bounced back from a key player being injured that they lost earlier. So they've had time to regroup, and maybe that was what the problem was when they had their losing streak there. Now they're gaining confidence, so it'll be an interesting game. It should go down to the wire.
All right, so Brian's on the fence, and as he usually says to me, pity that poor fence. I've got Florida, and you're going to find out who Preston has in his video best bet, which is coming up next. And guys, don't forget Weekend All Access. Boy, Sweet 16 action, Elite 8. Check it out. You can get everything Thursday through Sunday, just $59 at Wager Talk. Pick your favorite capper, get all of his plays for the 4-day period. You can get that each and every week at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with Brian and Preston's best bets for this week.